I had a relationship with Jay-Z. But the thing about Jay-Z and I, we were friends before anything.
Yeah, man, I went broke so goddamn quick, man.
Fame, fortune, and fast money. The triple threat that built rap empires and destroyed them just as fast. So many rappers had it all, only to watch it crash and burn thanks to wild spending, messy relationships, and endless court drama. From one hitmaker who once bragged about millions in his viral anthems but later told a judge he was flat broke, to a hip-hop legend who rapped about financial wisdom yet lost big in a nasty divorce, these stories prove that fame can fade faster than a mixtape drop, and right in the middle of it all, Soulja Boy. You know him, you've danced to him, and you've definitely cranked that at least once. But behind the fame, the fortune, and the over-the-top lifestyle was a trail of chaos. Money mistakes, bad choices, and more drama than a reality show. Soulja Boy, born DeAndre Cortez Way, was only 17 when he dropped Crank That, Soulja Boy, a record that didn't just go viral, it changed the game. Before TikTok and Instagram challenges, there was MySpace and YouTube, and Soulja ruled both. That Superman dance had the whole world moving, and overnight, he went from a regular teen to a superstar. But here's the twist. Soulja wasn't just another rapper chasing fame. He was a straight-up internet pioneer. He showed the world how to turn clicks into cash, and by 18, the kid was already a millionaire. Record deals, hit singles, and even his own game console. Remember the Soulja game? Life was sweet, and Soulja was living it up like a king. He wasn't shy about flexing either. Rolls Royces, Rolexes, and enough ice to start a glacier. Soulja had it all. He was throwing stacks at clubs, rocking designer fits every day, and letting the whole world watch. But while he was busy showing off online, the cracks behind that glossy image were getting deeper and fast. Wild spending, legal issues, and bad decisions started stacking up. And then came Kayla Myers. In 2019, Soulja Boy's ex-girlfriend Kayla dropped a bombshell lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the industry. She accused him of assault, kidnapping, and holding her at gunpoint for 6 hours inside his Malibu mansion. According to Myers, Soulja threatened her life, tied her up with duct tape, and even hit her with a gun. By 2020, the court ruled in her favor, ordering Soulja Boy to cough up nearly $472,000 in damages. But when it was time to pay, he pulled the "I'm broke" card. Yep, the same man who flaunted luxury cars and $18,000 chains told the court he had $0 to his name. How does that even happen? During the hearings, his financials were exposed, and it was ugly. His bank account was in the negative, bills were stacking, and yet he was still living in a multi-million-dollar mansion, rolling around in exotic cars. The judge wasn't having it one bit. In a brutal statement, the judge said, "Someone as close to zero financially as the defendant claims to be might want to scale down the living arrangements." He even clowned Soulja for paying $25,000 a month in rent, in LA no less. Soulja's lawyers tried to spin it, saying those expensive things were tools of his trade, part of his image as an entertainer. But the court wasn't buying that story either. The judge even suggested he start selling off his assets to pay what he owed. Except even if he sold everything, it wouldn't have been enough to cover that massive $472,000 bill. Soulja Boy's money problems weren't some one-time mistake. They were part of a bigger pattern. The man had a $1 million tax lien hanging over his head, plus a laundry list of court cases, from probation violations to sketchy crypto deals. His claims of being broke hit hard because, let's be real, this was the same dude who used to flex like he had endless bags of cash. We're talking about a rapper who once lived like royalty. Jets, designer clothes, mansions, now standing in front of a judge saying he couldn't afford a $472,000 payout. It was a brutal wake-up call for anyone chasing fame without a plan. When you mix fast money with bad spending habits, it can all disappear in the blink of an eye. But Soulja wasn't down for long. Reports say he eventually scraped together the cash to pay off that settlement, and just a year later, boom, he came back swinging. Out of nowhere, he jumped on Instagram flexing again, this time showing off music deposits totaling $1.05 million from Warner/Chappelle Music. Talk about a comeback flex. After all the broke rumors and legal drama, that post hit different. Soulja Boy looked like he was reclaiming his throne, dropping tracks, staying in headlines, and rebuilding what he nearly lost. His reckless spending and legal chaos almost destroyed his empire, but somehow he clawed his way back to relevance. Now, while Soulja was bouncing back, Nas wasn't as lucky, at least not at first. His biggest financial heartbreak came from a brutal divorce that left his bank account bleeding. Before the fame and millions, Nas was just a kid from Queensbridge, New York, one of the toughest housing projects in the country. He grew up surrounded by drugs, crime, and constant violence, but instead of getting trapped by it, he turned that pain into poetry. By 1991, Nas was already catching the industry's eye after dropping that unforgettable verse on Live at the Barbecue with Main Source. Record labels were instantly on him, and by 1994 he dropped Illmatic, an album critics called a masterpiece and fans called revolutionary. Overnight, Nas transformed from a kid in Queensbridge to hip-hop royalty, with back-to-back hits and respect from every corner of the game. Carmen and Nas welcomed their daughter, Destiny Jones, in 1994, the same year Illmatic dropped and changed hip-hop forever. At first, life seemed good, but as Nas's fame exploded, so did his problems. Carmen wasn't just another ex, she was deeply connected to some of the biggest names in the rap game. Later on, she even admitted to cheating on Nas with none other than Jay-Z, a confession that poured gasoline on their already fiery beef and turned their feud into hip-hop legend. Being a single mother meant Carmen expected support, and Nas had to pay up big time. While the exact numbers were never made public, everyone knows that when a top rapper's name is on that check.
I had a relationship with Jay-Z, but the thing about Jay-Z and I, we were friends before anything.
Child support ain't cheap. Carmen made sure every dollar landed where it was supposed to. But if Nas thought one child was expensive, he had no idea how wild things were about to get. Fast forward to 2002, Nas meets Kelis Rogers, the Harlem-born singer behind Milkshake and Bossy. The chemistry was instant. By 2005, they were married and crowned one of hip-hop's power couples, Nas, the lyrical king, and Kelis, the fierce R&B star. But behind the glitz and red carpet smiles, things were getting ugly. Their marriage was chaos, full of explosive arguments, dark accusations, and emotional scars. Kelis later claimed Nas was controlling and abusive, saying their relationship left her broken and drained. Nas fired back, saying she was manipulative, emotionally abusive, and knew how to twist things when he was already down bad. It was a toxic storm, and it didn't end quietly. In 2009, while pregnant with their son Knight Jones, Kelis filed for divorce, saying she needed to protect herself and her baby. And when the paperwork hit, the price tag was insane. Hollywood divorces are never cheap, but this one, it nearly broke Nas for real. The court sided with Kelis, ordering Nas to cough up more than $300,000 in back child and spousal support. Since he couldn't pay that lump sum right away, they hit him with $50,000 every single month. Imagine that. 50 grand gone before the ink dried. His lawyers fought hard to cut it down and eventually dropped it to $10,000 a month, but by then the damage was already done. Nas had shelled out hundreds of thousands he'd never see again. And just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, they did. The IRS came knocking. In 2012, Uncle Sam hit Nas with a $6 million tax bill, and they weren't waiting around to collect. To make it worse, the state of Georgia piled on, claiming he owed another $1 million in back taxes. Divorce payments, child support, and millions in tax debt. It was a financial nightmare. Nas was forced to sell off assets, liquidate properties, and scramble just to stay above water. By the end of 2012, things got so bad that even his home, the same one he bought with Kelis for over $500,000, was foreclosed and repossessed. From rap royalty to financial rock bottom, Nas's downfall was one of the most shocking stories hip-hop had ever seen. But legends, they don't stay down for long. Nas flipped the script and made a genius move. He launched Queensbridge Venture Partners, his very own investment firm focused on tech startups. And guess what? It worked. Nas jumped in early on companies like Coinbase, Lyft, and Ring, turning what little he had left into millions. The Game, one of the most recognizable names to ever come out of the West Coast. A former protege of Dr. Dre, he helped keep gangsta rap alive in the mid-2000s with straight-up classics like The Documentary and Doctor's Advocate. His bars were raw, his energy unmatched, and when it came to money, The Game was never shy about flexing his success. Back in 2016, the game made headlines, not for beef or drama, but for accidentally showing just how rich he really was. It all started with a good deed. He publicly pledged $500,000 to help the people of Flint, Michigan during their water crisis, wanting to prove he was a man who stood by his word. So he posted a screenshot of his wire transfer to Avita Water to show receipts. But there was one big mistake. He forgot to blur out his bank balance. And fans went crazy when they saw it read $13 million sitting in his account. The internet lit up instantly. People couldn't believe the game was sitting on that kind of money after more than a decade in the game. And in typical game fashion, he didn't just let the moment slide, he used it to throw shade at other celebs like Madonna and Jimmy Fallon for only donating $10,000, saying their cute little donations weren't nearly enough. At that point, the game was untouchable. Money, fame, and street respect all locked down. But fast forward to 2024, and the story looks very different. The man who once had $13 million in his account is now fighting to keep his home. So, what went wrong? It all traces back to one lawsuit that just refused to disappear. In 2015, Priscilla Rainey, a contestant from his VH1 reality show She Got Game, filed a sexual assault lawsuit against him, claiming he groped her inappropriately during filming. In 2016, a judge ruled in her favor, ordering the game to pay $7.1 million in damages. Instead of paying up, he went the defiant route, ignoring court orders, dodging payments, and trying every legal trick in the book to get the case thrown out. But the court wasn't having it. By 2024, U.S. District Judge Mark C. Scarsi had enough and ordered his assets to be seized, including his Calabasas mansion, to cover the judgment. Losing that house wasn't just about the money. It was a massive hit to his image. The game built his career on power, authenticity, and success. Now he was being forced to sell his home like someone trying to stay afloat. And that wasn't the end of it. Adding insult to injury, the game reportedly lost over $100,000 in a car burglary, deepening his financial hole. It was like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Lawsuits, court fees, stolen cash, and bad luck raining down non-stop. But here's where things get even messier. As the financial strain grew, rumors started flying that the game had found a new, and sketchy, way to make money. Multiple aspiring rappers began sharing screenshots of DMs allegedly from the game's team, offering collaboration spots on his mixtapes for $500 to $1,000 a pop. Some said it was a hustle, others called it a straight-up scam. Either way, it painted a wild picture. A rap icon once worth millions now being accused of charging upcoming artists for a verse. At first, it sounded like a dream come true. Imagine being an unknown rapper and suddenly getting a feature with the game. But there was a nasty catch. Instead of getting posted on his verified SoundCloud or promoted to his massive fan base, these artists were tossed onto random low-follower pages that barely got any plays. No promo, no shoutouts, and worst of all, the game didn't even rap on the songs. Up-and-coming rappers quickly realized they'd been finessed. They thought they were paying for a legit cosign from a West Coast legend, but what they got instead was nothing but empty promises and fake hype. As word spread, fans and hip-hop insiders started calling the game out, accusing him of scamming desperate young artists trying to break into the industry. When the pressure mounted, the game didn't directly address the accusations. Instead, he tried to flip the narrative by posting screenshots of supposed happy artists thanking him for the opportunity. But let's be real, screenshots can be cherry-picked. And with a $7 million lawsuit hanging over his head, people weren't buying it. With his mansion on the line, his reputation taking hits, and his money drying up fast, the game found himself in a corner. Unlike other rappers who bounced back by investing in business ventures or building new brands, the game hadn't made any big moves outside of music. If he doesn't make a comeback soon, he could be staring down a full-blown financial collapse. And speaking of hip-hop legends who went through it all, let's talk about DMX. Few rappers in history ever poured as much raw emotion, pain, and power into their music as he did. That voice, that presence, it was like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, man, I went broke so goddamn quick, man.
From the moment his debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, dropped in 1998, DMX became a force you couldn't ignore. That album sold 251,000 copies in its first week, eventually moving more than 5 million worldwide. And that was just the start. With 7 studio albums, over 70 million total sales, 3 Grammy nominations, an American Music Award, and even a solid Hollywood run, DMX should have been set for life. But as the saying goes, making money ain't the problem, keeping it is. DMX made tens of millions throughout his career, but his reckless spending, legal troubles, and personal demons caught up with him fast. Born Earl Simmons, his childhood was rough, filled with abuse, neglect, and deep trauma. He hit the streets early, and by the time fame found him, he was already battling a dangerous drug addiction that would haunt him forever. Even with fame and fortune, financial discipline was never his strong suit. He lived large, expensive cars, big houses, wild parties, but ignored his responsibilities. And those responsibilities, they were huge. DMX had 15 children with multiple women, all relying on him for financial support. His first marriage to Tashera Simmons eventually fell apart under the weight of his infidelities and countless affairs. By the time they appeared on VH1's Couples Therapy in 2012, their relationship had been through years of heartbreak and chaos. Tashera later told Essence magazine, "I do still feel bad about getting divorced, even after everything X put me through, because I took my vows very seriously. But there just comes a time when you give your all, and you know you gave your all, and it's just time to move on." It was the end of a love story and the beginning of DMX's toughest chapter yet, a painful mix of fame, failure, and fighting demons that money could never fix. But walking away didn't fix DMX's money problems. Not even close. By 2015, he was drowning in debt, owing over $400,000 in back child support. The judge wasn't playing. DMX got slapped with a 6-month jail sentence, though he only served 2. Not long after, he was locked up again, this time for falling behind on his $10,000 a month payments to Tashera. In court, DMX begged for another shot, telling the judge, "It's not like I can hide. All I have is my name and my reputation." The court showed mercy and let him go without bail, but everyone could see the truth. The man was broke, and his money problems weren't disappearing anytime soon. And it wasn't just the spending, it was the way he spent it. Instead of investing in his music or future, he was out here investing in women, buying luxury handbags, heels, and jewelry for women who didn't even stick around. It was all about showing off, not leveling up. And that's a dangerous game to play when your checks start slowing down.